All right, welcome to the CP1 Acronym Masterclass. You know that feeling, right? Staring at this massive wall of acronyms, thinking, how on earth am I going to remember all this for the exam? Well, you're definitely not alone. In this series, we're going to change all that. We're turning those boring lists into stories that actually stick. Let's get started.
So here's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do you cram dozens of these super complex acronyms into your brain? Look, the old way is just brute force. Flashcards, repeating it over and over. It's just painful, and honestly, it doesn't work that well. The real secret? It's not about memorizing lists. It's about making connections. We're going to take these abstract letters and turn them into vivid stories, powerful images, stuff your brain is actually designed to remember.
Okay, so here's what we're tackling today. We'll kick things off with a big one, the world outside. Create grand lists. Then we'll get into the regulator's purpose with GRIP and their job with service. After that, we'll talk about what makes an asset with system. And finally, how to know the investor with trader. Let's do this.
All right, first up, we're tackling the big one, the absolute beast of an acronym, create grand lists. This one covers, well, pretty much the entire external world a company has to deal with. It looks like a monster, I know, but trust me, we're about to make it feel a whole lot smaller.
And there it is, all 16 items. Seriously, just looking at this list can make you want to close the book and walk away. It's overwhelming, right? That's exactly the feeling we're going to get rid of. So, right now, I want you to completely forget about memorizing this as a list. We're not doing that. We're going to build a story instead.
So here's how we're going to do it. I want you to picture an analyst. They're putting together a massive report, and they break it down into 3 simple parts. First, they have to create the company's profile. That means looking at its corporate structure, regulation, environment, accounting, tax, and the economic outlook. That's create. Done. Step 2, they look at the grand market. They're assessing governance, risk, adequacy of capital, the new business environment, and of course, demographics. That's grand. And for the final step, they make a few lists of all the societal stuff, lifestyle, institutional practice, state benefits, technology, and social trends. And boom, just like that, 16 overwhelming items just became a simple 3-step story. See how much easier that is?
Okay, let's test this out right now. Think back to our analyst. They're on that very last step, making those societal lists. Can you pull out the 2 S words from that final part of the story? What were they?
Exactly. State benefits and social and cultural trends. See? The story helps you pull those details right out. It's not just a random list anymore. Okay, so now that we have a handle on the big wide world, let's zoom in a bit and talk about the folks in charge of regulating it.
Next up, we're looking at the regulator's main purpose. And to remember what they're all about, all you need is a firm grip.
So, GRIP stands for 4 key things a regulator has to do. They need to give confidence in the financial system, push for a reduction in crime, correct inefficiencies in the market, and, critically, protect consumers. Now, it's a pretty straightforward list, but we can make it even stickier with one simple, powerful image.
And this is it. This is the whole mnemonic. I want you to literally picture a regulator having a firm, steady, powerful grip on the entire market. That one image is your anchor. It holds all 4 of those points together in your mind.
Okay, so bring that image back, that firm grip. To keep that grip strong, what's the one thing they have to reduce? And who is that key group they absolutely have to protect?
Yep, you got it. Reduce crime and protect consumers. That visual anchor just makes it click. So, okay, if that's their purpose, their why, what's their actual what? What do they do day to day to maintain that grip?
All right, we know their purpose is grip. Now let's look at their actual functions. And to do that, we're going to think about the vital public service they provide.
Okay, so service breaks down into these 7 key functions. But again, we're not just going to stare at a list. Instead, we're going to meet someone and follow them around for a day.
Let's imagine a really dedicated public servant, and their name is literally service. Think about their day. They start their morning focused on the tough stuff, setting sanctions and enforcing regulations. Then, for the middle of the day, their job shifts to oversight. They're reviewing policy, vetting firms, and investigating any breaches. And to wrap up the afternoon, they switch to prevention. They're checking providers and educating consumers. See that flow? Morning is enforcement, midday is oversight, and afternoon is prevention. A logical day's work.
Quick recall test. What was our public servant, service, doing in the middle of the day? What were those 3 big oversight tasks? You nailed it. Reviewing policy, vetting firms, and investigating breaches. The story makes the busiest part of their day super easy to remember. Awesome.
Okay, time to shift gears. We've talked about the regulators. Now let's talk about the actual assets. We're going to break down the core features of any asset using the acronym SYSTEM.
So SYSTEM gives us 7 key features. Security, which is about risk, yield, spread or volatility, term, expenses or exchange rate, and marketability. But wait, what about the final T? It's tax. Now notice there are 2 T's here, term and tax. That's a classic trip-up. But don't worry, our mnemonic is built to handle that.
Okay, for this one, I want you to picture a super high-tech dashboard, like something out of a sci-fi movie. This is the analyst's evaluation system. On the main screen, there are 6 big dials, and they spell out SYSTEM: security, yield, spread, term, expenses, and marketability. But then, off to the side, separate from the main dashboard, there's a big, flashing red warning light. And that's the final T, for tax. Because tax affects everything else. So you check the main system, and then you always check that final T for tax. That separates the 2 T's perfectly.
All right, for our last acronym in this session, we're going to flip the script. We just looked at the asset with SYSTEM. Now, we need to understand the investor. And to do that, we have to make sure no little detail becomes a trader.
So, trader covers the 7 essential things you absolutely have to know about an investor: their tax position, the specific regulations that apply to them, the assets they already have, their income requirements, their personal tastes, any other random factors, and of course their risk appetite.
Okay, for this one, imagine you're a financial spy and you're creating a dossier on a high-value target, the investor. Your handler gives you a stark warning: don't let a single missed detail be a traitor to the mission. So, to make sure your analysis is rock solid, you run down your trader checklist every single time: tax, regulations, assets, income, tastes, other, and risk. Missing any one of these could betray the whole strategy. This isn't just a list, it's your spy protocol.
And that's a wrap for this session. Just think about what we did. We took 5 huge, complex lists and turned them into simple, memorable stories. You didn't just memorize, you learned how to create a grand report, get a firm grip, walk through a day of service, use a high-tech system, and watch out for a traitor. You've locked in 5 core acronyms. The foundation is there. So, which one are you ready to master next? I'll see you in part 2 to keep this momentum going.